Another day, Radio Row, Andrew Mason. We don't have to say where in the world is Andrew Mason. We know he's at the Super Bowl, and he's talking to people. Mase, you got a chance to catch up with some CBS commentators, including Boomer Esiason, who we're going to start with, and asking the question, what about Baker Mayfield in Denver? Asking questions about Russel Wilson as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't ask about Baker Mayfield, okay? What I did was I asked several CBS personalities, you'll hear from more probably in the coming days here in Orange and Blue today, what you would do regarding the quarterback position if you were the Broncos, right? Kind of open-ended. How would you try to navigate your way through? And first, and it's not in this response, Boomer Esiason talked about, it could be the draft, but it also could be a veteran, even a young veteran. He offered the name Jake Browning, who, of course, came in for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati last year and made a pretty good account of himself. I'm not sure Browning is long-term starter material, but what Boomer said next was really interesting. And so, first of all, talking about what type of quarterback you're looking for, and he doesn't necessarily have to be a 10-year generational guy. So let's roll that beautiful bean footage of Boomer Esiason and what he would do.
You were looking for a 2-year stopgap, like Geno Smith in Seattle. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Baker Mayfield, like they tried him in Carolina, Sam Darnold in Carolina, trying to see if he can get a guy in a rebound that can play. Now, Baker proved that he could do it. Baker's going to be a free agent. Oh, I'd love to see him with Sean Payton. That would be unbelievable. They'd be screaming back and forth at each other. And come on, the NFL needs Baker and Sean Payton together, right?
Yeah.
Because Todd Bowles is like, good play, come on, they'd be screaming at each other. It'd be great.
I think Boomer's been screaming. His voice is a little scratchy, but I like the guy that would push back, Mase. I think if we look at what kind of quarterback Sean Payton's looking for, it's a guy that doesn't mind pushing back a little bit.
Yeah. You go back, of course, one of Sean Payton's mentors is Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells, back in the day, you'd see him have shouting matches on the sideline with some of his quarterbacks, like Phil Simms, for example, right? That moment in Detroit, if Sean Payton were yelling at Baker Mayfield, Baker would give it right back to him. But maybe that's what Sean Payton needs, is the quarterback who, is going to provide that push. And also, demeanor-wise, maybe needs something like that. Now, that being said, Baker Mayfield could be $35 or $40 million a year. I don't think he's a realistic option for the Broncos as they go through this process. Let's make that clear.
Right.
But if they can massage a few things, structure a contract to minimize the cap hit in 2024, there are ways it could be pulled off. But the first step in that is Tampa Bay not bringing him back, and there's no indication that the Bucs are going to avoid doing that, right? So it starts there.
Yeah, some quarterback movement has to happen around the league. The Kirk Cousins situation, the Baker Mayfield situation. Like, a lot of these teams want to move up. A lot of these teams aren't going to be able to move up in this draft. And Mase, I want to be very clear about something as well. Russel Wilson cares. Just because he doesn't yell back doesn't mean he doesn't care. But I think, just me, armchair psychologist, I think Sean Payton kind of wants that guy to have a little more fire, where he's going to push back. And, Russ is fine, definitely a competitor. No doubt he's a competitor. He's just not built that way where he's going to get back in his coach's kitchen.
Right, exactly. Russell Wilson, he's talked about the neutral mindset, right? Like, just stay neutral. You see that on social media from time to time from him. And that's neither highs nor lows. It's the Simpsons years ago. Oh, we're the MTV generation. We feel neither highs nor lows. How does that feel? Meh. That's where meh began, by the way.
The origins of meh.
Yes.
The things you learn.
M-E-H. Meh. Right?
Meh.
And I'm not saying that Russell Wilson is meh, but he does have that approach that does have its benefits.
For sure.
He stays cool on a late game situation. Teammates talked about that after the Chicago game when they were behind 21-7 trying to come back. He was composed, chill in the huddle. That was one of the things that helped that rally come together in that game.
Yep. As you're talking to people in Las Vegas, Mase, is there any concern as to why it didn't work? Are people surprised it didn't work between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson?
No. That's actually the sense that I get. There's not a surprise that it didn't work out. Just speaking stylistically of the type of quarterback Russell Wilson is compared to where Sean Payton has found his success in the NFL, that Wilson's strength is beyond structure, unpredictable, essentially playing jazz. It's more free form. Sean Payton, with his quarterback and his offense, wants things run as designed. Again, it's jazz versus a symphony where everything's written precisely on the sheet of music, right?
Right.
That was going to come to a head. It's more that than the personality part of it, okay?
Okay.
It's much more about playing style. That's what I'm getting from talking to people out here in Las Vegas. But that playing style, in some people's eyes, means it was maybe doomed from the start.
Right. You say style, I'm going to say the F word, fit. It's all about fit. Russell Wilson can still play. He can still play. And he's an upgrade in Pittsburgh. He's an upgrade in Atlanta. He's an upgrade in New England. Like, there's all these spots where Russell Wilson would be an upgrade. He just doesn't fit with Sean Payton. Something I believe Matt Ryan touched on when you caught up with the former Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yep, let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Russ can still play. I mean, there's, at least in my opinion, there's no doubt about that. Whether it's there or not remains to be seen. But I think Sean, I mean, just from the decision that they made towards the end of the season, I think it's a hard relationship to repair, between those two. And that level of trust just will never be the same if they decide to keep him.
And doesn't that make it a sad situation, Mase?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it kind of got cut off there at the beginning, unfortunately. But right there at the top, it was Russ can still play.
Yep.
That was the key. That was the key part of that. So I want to make sure everyone knows that's what he was saying.
No, he said that on this end. Again, we're dealing with technical issues being in two different spots. But that Russ can still play was at the beginning of that video. And that's what makes me think it's just kind of a sad situation, because it's not that Sean Payton is a bad coach. Obviously he's not. It's not that Russell Wilson is terrible. He's not. They just don't fit together.
They didn't have many shared moments.
Did they have a single one?
Probably after the Bears game.
Okay.
Maybe after the Bills game. I wouldn't say after the Chiefs or Packers wins, because as we know about the timeline, that's about the portion of the calendar when they were trying to get him to give up or delay the injury guarantee clause.
Right.
Or we're going to bench him, right? So, shared moments were few and far between. But one thing that it was also interesting to kind of another part with Matt Ryan that I asked him about was whether he got an indication when he met with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, because of course when you're on the broadcast team, you're part of production meetings. Right. You get to meet with the quarterback, meet with the coach. Did he get an indication that there's anything off in that relationship? And Matty Ice said, no indication of that at all.
Okay, so everyone maintained their professionalism, and that's a good thing. Mase, I would say the shared moments create trust. You know what I mean? Like, you and I have had quite a few shared moments doing this show, and we already trusted each other before, but now we have that brotherhood-like bond. Like, if Sean Payton gets the guy that he can have those shared moments with, that's what build the trust, and that's exactly what Matt Ryan said.
Exactly. And so you have to find not only the right quarterback, but that is where the personality element comes into play. And we can talk about it with kickers, for example. I was talking about this with somebody last night. Will Lutz is the right kind of kicker for Sean Payton because Lutz can handle the ups and downs, sometimes the tempestuousness of life with Sean Payton. Not every player can deal with that. Not every kicker can deal with that. But Will Lutz could. That's one of the reasons why he kicked 5 seasons. There was 1 year where he was injured, of course. So 5 seasons with Sean Payton in New Orleans, and now a 6th season this past year.
Right. Now, you bring up the Chiefs and Packers. We will perhaps expand on this more tomorrow, but do you want to bring up how you asked the NFLPA a question about the Russel Wilson situation? That just happened today in Las Vegas. You're meeting with the NFLPA. They had an open media portion.
Yeah.
Would you like to bring that up, Mase? Also, you can read more about it, of course, at denversports.com.
I basically just asked Lloyd Howell, the executive director of the PA, was this resolved to the PA's satisfaction? Because, of course, a few days later, the NFLPA sent a letter to the Broncos and the NFL Management Council addressing their concerns about what the Broncos presented in terms of either take this restructure or you're going to be benched. And so that has all been resolved. That's all been taken care of. Everything is copacetic again. I did have a follow-up question kind of on that about whether something like this shows the need for guaranteed contracts. And, there's a lot of different types of guarantees. I heard the word guarantee so much that I felt like I was in Tommy Boy.
I got spare time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
there's a lot of spare time to talk about guarantees. But, if you have fully guaranteed contracts, total guaranteed contracts, then you're not dealing with anything like this. It just is what it is. You accept the costs and you move on. The thing is, it was interesting that the NFLPA said part of it is working with the agents, right? Because the agents love that big number, that six years, $125 million, when we all know it's basically a 3-year contract at a fraction of that, right? And we don't see many Kirk Cousins contracts, right? The contract he signed with the Vikings, when he first got there, was 3 years. I think it was 3 years, $88 million, which sounds kind of quaint compared to some of the quarterback numbers today.
Right.
Every dime guaranteed, right? Deshaun Watson's contract, every dime guaranteed. Is there a way for the NFL to get to that? And if you get to that, that means you take out some of the stuff like that happened with Wilson and the Broncos. So that being said, it was very interesting. The next question after that, after the discussion of guarantees, the next question asked by someone else was about a war chest if there's ever a work stoppage. And it was said there that to have a 1-season work stoppage, they need to have $12 billion
with a B.
Reserve. Yes. And that they weren't anywhere near that, and that's going to be, and that, generating money through licensing and things like that, that's going to be something that is a focal point. So looking way over the horizon here, the collective bargaining agreement expires in 2030. And I think basically the PA laid it out today that a goal was to have $12 billion in reserve. So that, and honestly, like guaranteed contracts may be something that's part of what the NFLPA fights for at the next CBA negotiations.
Yeah, and we'll see if the owners actually give in to that. Lots ahead in the NFL. But what's great, Mase, is you get to talk to all these quarterbacks. we love talking to all the pros, most of them, but it's like quarterbacks tell you so much just automatically because they have to think about the game so much. So you talk to Boomer, you talk to Matt Ryan, but you also had an interesting conversation with Tony Romo. Let's set that one up.
Yeah, Tony Romo, of course, played for Sean Payton, developed under Sean Payton. His first 3 years in Dallas, Sean Payton was the Cowboys offensive coordinator. And thus, what Tony Romo became, much of the groundwork was laid by Sean Payton, coaching him up over those 3 seasons. And also, note this was in one of Bill Parcells' books. Parcells wrote that early in the 06 offseason, Sean Payton tried to trade for Tony Romo from Dallas, but Dallas wanted a second-round pick because they knew where Romo might go.
Right.
And that's a high second-round pick because the Saints, they were 3-13 the year before, so nothing happened. But there's an interesting what if. What if Sean Payton had been able to trade for Tony Romo, which would have meant that he never signed Drew Brees, as he did a few weeks later in that 06 offseason. So understand that when you note anything that Tony Romo says about Sean Payton. And so what I asked Tony was, what are the elements that a Sean Payton quarterback needs in order to succeed working with Sean Payton? Like what are the traits you have to have? And let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Well, I think Sean adjusts to his quarterback. I think the biggest thing for him, for any quarterback playing with Sean, is just immersing yourself in football. And Sean's going to get the best out of you. And sometimes your environment matters, right? Sean's got to adjust to whether he has good offensive linemen or not, good receivers or not. Year one, I thought they really came on. I thought he did an incredible job of really figuring out his own team. And I think you're going to see that improve next year. Now, they're in a really difficult division. You've got some of the greatest coaches ever. Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh now, Sean Payton. So, to me, it's one of those where you could do everything right and still not win. But I think you're going to find very quickly that Sean will figure it all out.
I like that. Sean will figure it all out. That's what he does. He didn't come back to be third in the division, Mase. He didn't come back to make a wild card. Sean Payton came back to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. It got cut off there at the end, but Tony Romo said he could do everything right and still not win, but I think you're going to find very quickly that Sean will figure it all out, unquote. But I thought it was interesting, though, what Tony Romo said to open that. Sean adjusts to his quarterback, right? He did change things to account for Russel Wilson and account for his skill set. That wasn't because there were a lot of elements of Sean Payton's offenses over the years that were missing from the Broncos offense last year. Did hamstring them a little bit. It's just another log on the fire of this was, it's just a bad romance, right? It just was.
Sometimes you get that.
They were mismatched. Like it's
right.
Like from a bad television reality show or something, just the two people don't click.
They don't click, and it didn't click, and they're moving on somehow, some way. We'll figure it all out. Mase, how's the Super Bowl treating you, man? As we wrap up today's show.
It's good. It's been busy. Last night was the media party over at the F1 facility here. They took the Pip facility and basically turned it into an event space, and it was pretty cool. I got to the coolest thing for me was they had some race simulators set up, and so got to do a few simulated laps around the circuit. Couldn't keep my car from hitting the wall, but it was fun.
I didn't know you were a speed guy, like car guy, right?
I'm not like a guts of the car person. I'm not a gearhead. I just like race. I just like the race,
Okay. Nice.
Like, but I mean, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you a crankshaft McJohnson rod. No, there's no such thing as a Johnson rod.
Check your blinker fluid, right?
Yeah, like I better change the oil. Like, what would I do without everything on my on my dashboard telling me, it's check the oil, tire pressure,
right,
all that.
right.
I mean, I'm not a gearhead. I'm a little bit of an idiot, but I did enjoy the setup, and I do follow Formula One. So even though the race last November on the street circuit was a complete bore, it was still cool to be able to walk on the track. Yeah. Walked on the part of the track that's permanent. I did that for a little while. Should have taken a picture of myself laying on like the start-finish line or something. I don't know.
It's all about the selfies. It's all about the gram, mate.
Yeah.
Remember that. It's all about the gram.
That's what they call it now, the gram.
Some people call it that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm too old to call it the gram. So.
You just did. But were you doing it? You were doing it ironically. Yeah. It's like when I say something like, "Oh, it's on the inner Google." I know exactly what it is. I'm not sure. I'm just being goofy, right?
Yeah, that's what we do at the end of the show. Anyway, Mase, take us out of here with our YouTube.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate you watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid. We appreciate all of you following the channel over the last month. We'd love to see more of you following that. And if you do, that means you're going to be updated every time we go live with an edition of Orange and Blue today. So you'll never have to miss anything as the Broncos roll on through this offseason.
He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on the socials at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. OBT is a BFD. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned. And would you please